All right, thank you, Des. Well, you see it every day here on the news. You know, the world is changing, and it's really, really hard to keep up sometimes. Businesses need to do it. Politicians need to do it. And you know what? You need to kind of have an eye into the future, a window into the future as well. So we're going to help you out this morning. The book is called Navigating the Badlands. The author is Mary O'Hara Devereaux. You call yourself, or others call you, a futurist, and that sounds like a mind reader, but that's not what this is all about at all.
Well, no, I'm not a mind reader, but I look ahead at the future and try to tell people what are the big trends that are coming up so they can think about what does that mean to their lives.
And you've been doing this for a number of years, very successful. You work a lot with business and private industry on this, the private sector. For example, give me a trend that you spotted in the past that is really now in full swing.
Well, I think the biggest one that is spotted in the past during this last 50 years really is the changing identity of women. I mean, women really have transformed their roles, which is transforming the entire household and actually in the entire of society. And it's a great time to be alive for a woman. Just a great time. They're going to have a second middle age.
Yeah, and that trend that you, like I say, you spotted in the past that's happening now, that really carries over into this next decade that you're talking about.
That's right. I think we're just at the point where it's going to hit, and we're going to see remarkable things from women's leadership.
But now, you titled this book, Navigating the Badlands. That doesn't sound like you're optimistic that it's going to be smooth sailing and it's going to be a rosy picture out here in the future.
Well, actually, the Badlands has both opportunities and threats. And I'm actually very optimistic about the future, but we're about 75 years in a big cycle of historic disruptive innovation. And so we're right at the point where there's been so much change in the economy, and now what's happening and why everyone's feeling so out of sorts is that all our social institutions are starting to fail. And that's actually why I'm here in San Diego. I think San Diego is a very interesting region. And I'm turning some of my attention now from really looking at big businesses to looking at the social sector, because I think that's where most of the change in the next 25 years needs to come.
Well, talk to me about that then. What are you seeing out there?
Well, what I'm seeing out there, and I think everybody's experiencing it, our healthcare systems failing, our education systems failing, all the social institutions have failed because the economy has changed so much. And San Diego has really been on the forefront of a lot of the economic change. And I think they're going to be on the forefront of a lot of the social change. In fact, I'm just starting today a big meeting with nonprofits in San Diego to take a look at how do we change the whole sector in San Diego. Can it be a model for the rest of the country? Working with Lead San Diego, the San Diego Foundation, Sempra Energy's coming in. So I really see the beginnings of a very different and new kind of partnership between business and the nonprofit sector, because the government's not going to do it.
Right. Well, and there are those that say, you know what, the government hasn't done that great a job at it. We need to take the reins back in some of these areas that we've handed over responsibility to the government because, for whatever reason, maybe we're just too lazy to deal with some of these issues ourselves. And you're saying, you know what, grab the reins back.
Well, and you ask, what's a big trend now? I think a big trend that we're going to see played out in the United States is citizens get together in very different ways and begin to recreate a much different society that fits this Badlands.
Now, we've only got less than a minute, but as I'm looking at all kinds of things that you're talking about in the future here, a couple of the uncertainties and the wild card things. You see a possible bird flu epidemic?
I think one of the biggest wild cards and uncertainties is, will we have a global epidemic? And I think the bird flu really is one where that could come to pass in the next year.
And then you talk about the last wild card here, Palestine and Israel making peace and a Palestinian state is born. That would have profound effects around the world.
Tremendous effects. And a wild card is something that is highly improbable to happen.
Oh, so you don't think that's all that?
No, a wild card, no, I actually don't forecast that's going to happen.
All right, the book is called Navigating the Badlands, Thriving in the Decade of Radical Transformation, and you kind of help us see our way through that. Mary O'Hara Devereaux, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Please come back and see us, and we'll pick fewer issues next time and delve deeper into them.
Let's do China.
Oh, boy, I know. You mentioned that a lot in here. Study up. Read the book. All right, for nearly 3 full decades, he was the reigning king of late night. Still ahead on Fox in the Morning, we take a look back as we remember that one thing that didn't change over 30 years, that that one little piece of continuity, the legacy of Johnny Carson. That's coming up.
To really put some very important